You know, I can walk, I know that there's a bus stop 2 miles from here, and I can walk that in X amount of minutes, and, you know, people have no idea. The same with Denzel Washington,
Yeah.
the Equalizer, when he's timing everything. I mean, there's a reason for that. He knows every day his limits, and, I mean, it's something that's, if it's gonna give you confidence, that's gonna be it.
Yeah. You ready?
You're on.
Okay.
That's what she said.
Take over.
This is Mark Edward Cody. We're coming back to you again today, continuing our course on disaster preparedness. We finished up last time. We had just started talking about the bug out bag. A bug out bag is a backpack or other small carrying device that's filled with essential emergency disaster supplies that will help you endure the first 24 hours to 72 hours of an evacuation or emergency situation. It shouldn't be too heavy to carry for long distances. You want to make sure that you don't get more than you can comfortably carry. You should make sure that every family member has their own bug out bag. Now we're going to start out with here with a very small bag. This is the 511 Tactical, it's called the Rush Moab. It's called a sling pack. You'll see instead of a backpack with 2 straps on it, this has actually just got 1 strap to throw over your shoulder. It's also got additional straps on the side where if you do want to secure it around your waist also, it won't flop around quite as much. Now obviously something like this, you can't carry a lot of stuff in. The dimensions of this, the main compartment is 10.5 inches, the height is 9 inches, length is 5 inches. I'm sorry, the length is, okay, it's 10.5 by 9 by 5 inches deep. So again, you can't put a whole lot in it, but a couple of basic survival items. It's got a hydration pocket where you can put in a container for water. Total capacity is 671 cubic inches, that's 11 liters. By itself it weighs about 2 pounds. And we'll be talking a little bit about basic things that you need to carry in a pack such as this, and we'll also look at some larger things that will give you a lot more storage capacity. Another example on the other end of the spectrum, this is very small. We don't have an example here today. There's something called the LLRP, or the Long Range Reconnaissance Pack. It's the civilian equivalent of the military Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol Pack, and it may be prepared for the advanced survivalists. These kits are for the event that you may have to fend for yourself for the foreseeable future, with little possibility that things are going to return to normalcy anytime in the near future. You go ahead and pause it for a second. We probably need to change the position of the camera a little bit because we've got it where
Put it
I'm
underneath
having
the
to look
screen.
too far away from it. I'm obviously looking off to the side. Okay, so we're talking about bug out bags or emergency preparedness kits. We're going to start out by going over the actual bag itself, different types of ways in which you can carry your survival gear. We talked a little bit about this bag. This is the 511 Tactical Rush Moab. And you can go online and you can see all types of reviews people have made of the different types of things that are available. Today we're just going to touch the basic high points on the things that are available. But you can get a lot of information on the pros and cons of each one of these types of packs that are available. Again, this one is called the Rush Moab. I really like the 511 Tactical material, their bags and such. Most of my clothing that I wear on a day-to-day basis is 511 Tactical. This is one of their shirts. One of the features of the shirts, they have hidden pockets in them where you can carry a phone or a gun or a map or anything that you need. Okay, so if you need a larger bag, we're basically just talking about a backpack. There's a lot of different types of packs that are available that are specialized for different needs. In a pinch, anything that you can stuff stuff in and comfortably carry on your back is fine. But there's a lot of things that are available that are more geared towards survival situations. And one of the aspects of this is things that are modular, which is to say bags that can be easily attached to other bags. So you can add to or take away from your kid as necessary without having to change over to a completely different bag. Consideration, the more stuff you carry, the heavier it's going to be. And a lot of us are not capable of carrying an 80, 90-pound pack as young people in the military do in extremely adverse conditions and walk for miles and miles and miles with this on your back. You know, conservatively, a bug-out bag may be, what, 30 pounds?
Maybe
When-
30 to 40
But
pounds.
when you're getting into a combat situation, you have soldiers, they're carrying their body armor, their weapon, their ammunition, their magazines, and their survival gear. You may be pushing 60, 80 pounds or even more for a long-range reconnaissance patrol.
Just armor alone, ceramic plates are
Right.
40, 45 pounds.
So just your body armor could often be 40 pounds probably.
That's if you actually want body armor that works.
So the pack, they tend to be very heavy and require a certain amount of physical fitness to carry for an extended period. You need to pack whatever essentials you can carry. You may not have to walk far before transportation is available, so don't necessarily say, well, I'm not going to carry this, I'm not going to have this available because I don't want to carry it for 10 miles. You may just have to walk a couple of blocks and then you're able to get into a car or some other sort of transportation.
Another option is, if you have a large dog, is to pack the dog. You know, put a pack, they make packs for the dogs. You can't do it with a Chihuahua, but you can definitely do it with a good-sized German Shepherd or Labrador Retriever. Any of those kind of animals that you're going to have with you anyway. Don't be afraid to pack them up because they'll carry the load and love it. So it's a great thing to think about that as well.
And of course, another consideration, if you've got the stuff, as soon as you're out of the immediate area where the danger is, you can stow that somewhere. You can dig a hole and bury it in a waterproof container or hide it somewhere and come back for it later.
Waterproof is a key word too.
And again, that's where the modular comes in. It's very nice to have, a lot of the packs are set up where you've got the main very large pack that goes on your back, and you put less essential items in it. You know, it would be nice to have a pup tent if you're going to be sleeping outside for the foreseeable future, but you can live without that.
Right.
So it's nice to have a modular system where you can take off that little outer pack that's just got a couple of MREs and a change of underwear and socks and some water in it. There's just a couple of basic items that you're really, really going to need.
Really good socks, a couple of pairs, really good footwear. You know, wearing clogs and sandals is a good thing when you're out cruising, but when you're in an emergency situation, better have some good footgear because if you're going to walk anywhere at all, you need to keep your feet in great shape.
And that's one of the things that people often don't think about.
Don't even think
You'll
about
spend $1,200 on an assault rifle, but you won't have any good shoes that you can walk more than a mile in before you start getting blisters. And in a few minutes, we'll talk a little bit more about that, different types of shoes, different types of socks. But for right now, getting back to the packs, the long-range packs, they should have a quick detach on them with a 3-day bag attached to that. And again, 3-day bag, the idea is stuff that'll help you be able to survive for at least 3 days. MREs, you can get just the entree package, which is the main meal. Those are very small. It's very easy to put 3 of those in even like the Rush Moab pack that I've showed earlier. Now, military survival style packs, and again, this is made by the company 511 Tactical. Something like this is probably about the right size for your average person. It's not particularly heavy, and if you choose wisely what you put in it, your average person could carry this and walk a few miles. And you see it's got an expansion here where I can stuff stuff in between the 2 main packs. And that gives me the ability to stick in a blanket. If you're going to have a survival blanket, the military style wool blankets that are, I think they're like 60 or 70% wool. One of the advantages of a wool blanket is even when it's wet, its ability to keep you warm is not greatly diminished. So something like that you could stick in here, your pup tent or whatever. And if you decide that's just too bulky or too heavy to carry, you can easily dump that out and continue on your way. In addition to a bag like this, they make waterproof bags that you can insert into this and put your stuff in. So if you have to swim across the creek or something like that, your stuff is not going to get wet. It's also not a bad idea to have a very large waterproof bag that your entire backpack will fit in. That way, if I have to take this off of my body, I can take the whole thing and then just slide it down into that. And in a pinch, if you don't have one of those, just getting one of the heaviest duty garbage bags or yard garbage bag you can get. Just take that and slide your whole pack down into it and tie it off, tape it off, carry some duct tape with you or some electrician's tape so you can get the seal on the top of it. And then if you have to leave it someplace where it might get rained on, or if you have to float it across the river or a lake or something like that, you don't get everything soaking wet. Food, water, and protection from the elements are your bare necessities. Each kit should contain at a minimum MREs. MRE stands for meal ready to eat. And of course, we've all heard a lot of different jokes about what that actually stands for. Some of the guys in the military call it meals refused by Ethiopians and all other kinds of things that suggest that it's not the best thing in the world to eat. But in all honesty, it's the best survival military ration in the history of the world. Most of the entrees are no different than something that you would get off your supermarket shelf any down with a can.
Exactly.
The advantage of the MRE is the packaging is made to be very durable and very lightweight. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper if you just want to go to the grocery store and get a bunch of cans of Dinty Moore beef stew. But once you carry that for 10 miles in your backpack, you're going to start wishing you would have spent a couple extra bucks to get the stuff that's in the bags and in the boxes instead of in the metal cans. So each kit should contain at a minimum MREs, military-style canteen, eating utensils, a military-style poncho or a shelter half. The shelter halves, basically what it is, the poncho, you can just put it over your body like a normal poncho to keep the rain off of you. But you can take two of them and snap them together, and now it basically makes like a pup tent that just doesn't have ends on it. You can do the same thing with a tarpaulin. But if if you're by yourself, which you shouldn't be in a survival situation, not a bad idea to have an extra poncho. If you pick up somebody along the way that is traveling with you, not a bad idea. Have an extra poncho to share with somebody, and then when you need to build a shelter, temporary shelter, just snapping those ponchos together. You can stretch those out with paracord, 550 cord, or with bungee cords. Very easy to strap those over a tree or something and have some shelter from the rain. It's not a bad idea to have a Mylar emergency blanket. Everybody's seen the space blankets. It's made out of the same aluminum metallic looking material that they make the balloons out of for kids' birthdays. They fill them up with helium. You'll see them in most grocery stores. That material is extremely lightweight and it reflects a great deal of your body heat. So it's very easy to just wrap up in one of those and stay
Very
warm.
lightweight, very, very lightweight.
Other items that you might want to carry with you. Paracord, we mentioned that 550 cord takes its name because its working strength is 550 pounds. You want to make sure that you get the military style paracord. It has, I believe it's 7 or 8 strands of string inside of the actual sheath on the outside. That makes it very strong, and it also gives you the ability, if you need a piece of fishing line or something like that, you can strip it and get those individual lines out of the inside of it. You can use that to fish with, sew up a pair of pants, or any other uses that strong, thin string would be used for. Toiletries, you can relieve yourself and wipe with the leaves if you need to, but some toilet paper would be really nice.
That's one of my priorities.
Carry toilet paper. Things for dental hygiene, a toothbrush, toothpaste. Instead of carrying toothpaste, you might consider baking soda. You can brush your teeth with that, and you can also use it as an antacid if necessary. And of course, soap, a towel, and other such things for personal hygiene. A change of clothes. If you have 3 pairs of clothes and the ability to wash them, you can survive for a long time. I've heard stories of guys on the long-range military missions, particularly in Vietnam when they were in the jungle, where their uniforms were literally just falling off of them because they just worn out from the extreme conditions. So it's nice to have a change of clothes where you can wash one thing and have something to wear while you're washing. You never know when you're going to have to bug out very quickly,
Exactly.
and it's best to do that, not literally and figuratively, calling your pants down. But the most important thing, if you don't have another shirt, another pair of pants, make sure that you've got undergarments, especially a couple pairs of socks. Hygiene is very, very important in a survival situation. You don't have the luxury of taking a hot bath every night, changing into clean clothes that were washed and dried with the proper equipment. So it's very easy to get infections, to get athlete's foot, and things that might just be a minor inconvenience in our day-to-day lives. In a survival situation, it can become life-threatening. You know, if you get to the point